I personally love this term occupational choice when it comes to how OTs practice. You probably spend a lot of your time talking to your clients and patients about what's meaningful to them. What are those things that they're hoping to get back to? And you advocate for your clients, for them to really have those choices, right? But what I found is that there's a lot of OTs that don't feel like they themselves have a lot of choices. Their hours are inflexible. There are high productivity standards and, increasing documentation requirements. There is this constant struggle with what like a client needs versus what insurance will cover. And so it's easy to see why so many OTs face burnout. So today I want to talk about how OTs can achieve more occupational choice for themselves. So I'm Doug Vestal, and I help OTs just like you start and grow thriving private pay practices. My wife and I, we founded our own successful private pay practice in New York City back in 2014, and I make these videos to help you achieve success even quicker. So let's talk about occupational choice. And maybe we should really call it occupational freedom, right? Because to me, the OT is at their best when they have the freedom to see who they want, when they want, where they want, how they want, and for as long as they want. And if we just take a step back, isn't the whole point of healthcare to focus on the individual, to focus on using your expertise to provide for that person, the ways that you know best? And at the same time, right, this has to be balanced with the needs of you as a person, as the OT. Just because you have clinical skills and want to help, that doesn't mean that you have to sacrifice the important years with your family. Doesn't mean that you have to constantly be stressed about money because you have those high student loan debt. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a life outside of seeing clients. You deserve that. You are human. And so what I find is that we get into this situation that really isn't satisfactory to anyone. You end up having to spend less time with clients, more of them per day, and focus your energy on tasks not really related to direct client care. And what happens is the service provided to the client is set up to not really get them better because, the therapist is spread so thin, and the OT providing the service is also suffering. So to me, it's this really bad combination. You have clients that aren't getting their needs met because they aren't being given the time. And you have OTs providing this service themselves feeling unfulfilled and stressed. I mean, when I look at it, it's clear to me that no one is really, really winning in that equation. So, but there is one group that's winning, and that's the insurance companies. The structure of much of our healthcare is built around insurance. So much so that, insurance has really become synonymous with healthcare. And so what happens is there's this third party that sits in between the relationship between the OT and the client. And so only the things that can be billed to the insurance company and reimbursed for are done for a client, even if that's not the best option. Think about it. When you treat and put CPT codes into your documentation, why are you accounting for the 8 to 15 minute increments of your work? I can tell you, no healthcare provider, including an OT, would naturally think to themselves, you know what? With this client, I'm going to work in 8 to 15 minute increments with them. That's really the structure that makes sense best, based on my expertise. That 8 to 15 minute increments is because you have to account for your time for the insurance company. It's not therapist driven. It wasn't therapist created. It is insurance company driven to ensure you don't spend too much time with your client. Because once they start commoditizing and codifying the time you spend into time units, then the insurance company can start to control how those units work. That's why you hear things like, oh, I can only bill that CPT code once because the insurance won't reimburse for two 15-minute sessions under that code. And to me, that is just crazy, right? The insurance company has never evaled your client. So what happens is everything gets controlled in these units of time. That hospital you work for, the SNF, the acute care rehab, the private practice that does accept insurance, they all face this same dilemma. Somebody else controls how the work can be done and how much they get paid for it. So that means now your productivity standards go up because reimbursements are going down. And so for the company to make the same amount of money, they have to provide more services in the same amount of time. And by the way, right, that means also some claims are going to be denied if the documentation isn't perfect. So in addition to seeing, 15 clients that day, you also need to spend a ton of time doing documentation that you aren't paid for. My mentor, Richie Norton, has a saying, change the way you're paid and you can change your life. And nowhere do I think that's more true than for OTs. If you are working for a practice that takes insurance, then you are getting paid by the insurance company. It's just a fact. Your paycheck may not be signed by the insurance company, it may not sign it, but the only way that your employer can pay you is by the money that they receive from the insurance company. So if you are paid by the insurance company, that means you are at the mercy of the insurance company for everything. And the insurance company it does, and it will change things without your input, without your permission, and without your control. And these changes are going to impact you, often negatively. But you can change things by changing the way that you get paid. And you can change the way you're paid by going private pay. In private pay, the relationship is between you and the client, not you, the client, and that insurance company. The client pays you directly. You get to provide your professional and expert recommendations for the type of services they need without regard to any reimbursement for insurance. You get to see the client for as long as you want, for as often as you want, because you are caring for the client's best needs, not what the insurance company dictates. You bill the client directly, right? Which means that the client has 100% clarity on the cost of services. There are no surprise bills. And because you bill the client directly, you don't have to worry about declining reimbursement rates. You provide a great service at a fixed price that you can count on. This means that when reimbursement changes, then you, your staff, and your business are insulated from the demands of having to increase productivity standards to make up for that. And all of this means that you get to decide how much time you spend with a client, how many clients you see a day, and how much money you will earn while providing an amazing service. Most OTs in private pay aren't seeing 8 clients a day. They might be seeing 20 to 25 clients a week. And that's because they can. They can prioritize seeing clients their way, make good money, but also not leave the practice so stressed and frazzled at the end of the day that they're not able to show up for their family the way that they want to. This is how OTs can achieve occupational choice and freedom. Until you change the way you get paid as an OT, you won't have occupational choice. The structure has to be there to really support it, right? And you can create that structure yourself with private pay. If you are interested in learning how to start your own private pay practice, then I recommend that you check out our course which is for OTs, called Private Pay MBA, which teaches you how to do just that. So I'll leave a link in the description below. And if you want to set up your OT private pay practice for success, then check out this video right here.